Welcome to the March Home. I'm Brian Anderson, my host, Amy, and today we've got special guest Scott Crawford from Rock Bottom Divers. How you doing, Scott?
Fantastic. It's always good to be here around you.
Welcome.
So, it is always good to be around you. Scott and I have known each other for quite a while, and now you're a member of the board of the Veterans Alternative. So he's kind of like one of my bosses, I would have to say.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
I never thought about it that way before.
I think about it that way all the time.
And I showed up 10 minutes late today.
10. It's a little longer than that.
So Scott, tell us about Rock Bottom Divers. What do you do?
Well, we are a veteran-owned and operated dive shop that hires nothing but veterans to work in the shop.
Awesome.
It's a great atmosphere for veterans. We tried civilians, and it worked out okay, but veterans just seem to work better, I guess, with my management technique.
So you served in the military.
Yes, I did. I was in the Air Force.
Okay, not the Navy.
That is correct.
That is correct.
Not
He
the
always
Navy.
says it's the Navy that you were in. Did you deploy?
Yes, I did. I was in support Operation Iraqi Freedom.
Okay, so what did you do instead of the Air Force?
I was in a tactical comm unit attached to Joint Communications Support Element out of MacDill. Those guys actually support SOCOM, CENTCOM, and I was attached to a Navy Swift boat team there.
That's why I always get confused with Navy, because you
That
actually
Navy-
worked with the Navy while you're
Navy
deployed.
connection.
Roger that, yeah.
What did you guys do over there?
Well, we supplied all of the secure and not secure comms, and obviously some of the social media stuff, because you can't really fight a war without Facebook.
Did they have Facebook back then?
They did. It wasn't like MySpace with you. They
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
did have
yeah.
Facebook.
That's interesting. That's interesting. And so now the dive shop that you have, you guys aren't just selling things. You're doing other stuff too.
Right. We train all the way to the instructor level at
Yep.
the dive shop. We also do servicing of life support equipment, which means cylinders, breathing regulators. We do travel and of course sales, retail stuff.
So you do that for everybody.
Everybody.
Okay.
Now, I know you have programs that are just veteran-centric. Mm-hmm. What kind of programs are you doing for
Well,
that?
we are approved to do a VOC rehab program for veterans. And as you know, the VA has a VOC rehab program that will pay for just about everything for the veteran as long as they have a 20% or better disability rating from the VA.
Okay.
So when you're saying voc rehab, vocational rehabilitation.
Roger that, yeah.
Okay. So who is that geared towards?
That's geared toward veterans that have a 20% or better disability rating and that can get approved for that type of training.
Yep.
They obviously have to go to a counselor and they go through the
Medical
medical, all
clearance
of those
and all of
things.
that.
Yep, all those things that need to be approved. And then they come into the program and we train them to go from knowing nothing about scuba all the way up to the instructor level. We also train them to work on breathing regulators, cylinders, small business stuff so that you learn the front end and the back end of the actual business operation. We also train them to be a captain, a licensed captain with the Coast Guard.
Wow.
So it's a great program. It's very well rounded, but the best part about it is they don't only get the training, but we give them the experience with it. So our program is not just a 2-week, 4-week, 6-week program. Our program can be up to 2 years. And we get them certified, we get them a piece of paper, but then we integrate them into the process of actually training people, driving a boat,
wow.
repairing regulators. All of that is logged. So when they leave, if they decide to leave, I'm more than happy to hire them. But if they decide to go someplace else, they've got a resume that says, I've got the papers, but this is all the experience I have behind it, which makes them a lot more marketable.
That's an absolutely amazing idea, working that in there like that with the training. I think that's awesome.
So what motivated you to do something like that?
Well, after I got out of the service, I was doing some research about scuba diving, and actually it was called HSA, the Handicapped Scuba Association.
Now, real quick, did you dive at all while you were in the military?
Oh yeah, when I enlisted active duty in 1985,
I was born 3 years before
yeah,
that.
right. So I actually got certified while I was active duty serving in Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay.
Became an instructor in 1990, and I've been teaching ever since.
In 1990, were you an instructor for the military, or is that on the civilian?
Just civilian.
Okay. So you never dove for the military. It was outside of that you did.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So I thought there was some sort of a need where veterans, wounded veterans, learning to dive, and when I started digging into it, it's a tremendous opportunity, and it has healing properties for folks that are spinal cord injuries,
Yep.
PTSD,
Yeah.
all of those things, and it's actually been researched through Johns Hopkins.
So I've done hyperbaric oxygen treatment. You remember when I was
yeah.
going through that, and it was extremely helpful.
It helped him so much.
So what would you compare, like, and I know it's two different things. I mean, obviously, I think I would rather be diving in water, but is it comparative?
Right. So in a hyperbaric chamber, your body is being put under pressure, but it's
Yep.
air pressure rather than water pressure. As a matter of fact, when divers get injured, they go into a hyperbaric chamber because we actually take them on a scuba dive with air and give them 100% oxygen, which gets the nitrogen out of their system.
Okay.
So in the water, you have the benefit of increased pressure, but you also have the benefit of zero gravity. Right? So people with spinal cord injuries, paraplegics, quadriplegics, those folks actually feel less pressure on their body, which it's been researched that sometimes they get very minute feelings back in the extremities that have been cut off at the spinal cord.
Have you done some dives with paraplegics and spinal cord injury guys?
Absolutely, absolutely. I've trained paraplegics and I've trained quadriplegics to scuba dive.
Wow, where have you done that? Have they been
Here.
controlled? Okay.
Yeah,
Like when you say here, not here on the set.
not right here,
Not right here.
not right here, but here in Florida,
Okay.
actually. Yeah.
And now where do you do a lot of your dives at?
We do the training dives we do in Blue Grotto, which is north of here,
Okay.
and Williston, and we have our own charter operation as well. So we take those folks out in the Gulf of Mexico as well.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So the dives that you've done, you got some stories of guys that you've seen when you've been into the water, they've kind of noticed or seen some things that,
The best story I have of a wounded veteran learning how to dive was we were training a quadriplegic. Now, a quadriplegic is very complicated to train.
Sure.
Literally no hand signals. It's all eye signals.
how many people do you have to have in the water for a quadriplegic?
For a quadriplegic, you need 3 people in the water. One has to be an instructor.
Yep.
One has to be an certified adaptive dive buddy, and then you need another person diving. So one person has to control the diver. The other person has to be eyeballing the diver to get the eye signals, to get the signals to do whatever. Because when you're dealing with a quadriplegic, there are a lot of things that can happen
Yep.
during that. So anyway, the story is, I took him on his dive. We dove, and we had a great time. So when we came up, I was saying, yeah, I mentioned to him, I said, look, I saw there was a lot of water in your mask. We need to get, let me know and we can get that mask cleared up. Because we have a skill that we do to clear water out of a mask. Well, his caregiver came on the boat with us. After we got him offloaded and he was where he was at, his caregiver came up to me and said that was a great experience. By the way, he didn't want to tell you, but he didn't have water in his mask. Those were tears.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that was really
It was
ama-
such a moving experience for him.
Yeah, it was crazy. I'm getting like goosebumps. Right?
Yeah.
So can a quadriplegic actually become dive certified then?
Absolutely. It's called an adaptive rating or a
Yep.
classified rating, and he can only dive with the people that I've already told you. Same thing with a paraplegic. It's all their abilities. Whatever they can do is when we determine what and how many people they go diving with.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting. So you continue to make moves within this process of helping veterans out. What's next? What's next for rock bottom divers?
Well, we definitely want to expand at some point in time. My hope is to have enough veterans in the VOC rehab program where I can employ them. And if that's the case, then we can, and I can have them employed or certifying and teaching other veterans to scuba dive.
Yep.
That would be a phenomenon. I
That
mean,
would be
if
awesome.
I have 3 or 4 veterans trained to certify veterans, wounded veterans, meaning paraplegics, because that's another certification, that would just be great. I'd love to have 2 or 3 locations where I have veterans training veterans to scuba dive.
That would be so awesome because that's so therapeutic for the veterans to help other veterans do the
Absolutely.
same kind of
The
thing.
majority of the veterans that come in the program, the reason why they come is because they want to help other veterans.
Right.
I've seen it just amongst our veterans in general. They have a calling to help each other out. Not all of them really know what it is next that they're going to do. It seems like diving is, it seems like it's one of those things that you can actually do, and it brings on some of that desire you have for something extreme.
Right. Right. It's a risk inherent sport, so
Yeah.
there's some risk there, and it's awesome because for the actual person, the veteran who is the instructor that is teaching, him teaching is therapeutic, but
Yeah.
him being in the water personally is therapeutic for him as well, mentally, physically. So it's a double win.
And then it's therapeutic for
Right,
whoever he's teaching
right,
as
right.
well.
But now all the equipment, like you got the VOC rehab program, all the equipment that they have, that's kind of expensive, isn't it?
VOC Rehab pays for it.
Vocational rehabilitation pays for it. So if someone wanted to sign up for rock bottom divers to go through one of these programs, What's the steps that they have to take? What do they do?
They can go to the website,
Okay.
rockbottomdiveshop.com.
Okay.
And they can find the transitional page, military transition page. And they can read all about it right there. If they got any questions, the first couple of steps is actually coming in and speaking with me. We determine where you're at, where you need to be, where you want to be, and if the program actually fits you, because the program obviously isn't going to fit everybody. So we go through that process. We talk through the process about the process of vocational rehabilitation, which is a whole nother process. And we try to lead the veteran in the right direction to get success the first time around.
Does it take a while, that process, that rehab
It does take a
process?
while, and it
Yeah.
depends on the veteran. It depends on, their rating from the VA, why there's a rating there. So
Okay.
it all depends.
Yeah.
And honestly, what I've noticed, because I first went out and filled out a thing for vocational rehabilitation just to see what it was like versus GI Bill. And one of the things that I noticed was, the people that were my counselors in that, they were students at University of South Florida. So I had to walk them through a process with me. Some of that's kind of frustrating, I would imagine, for some of us. I know it was a little frustrating with me. What have you seen, guys, or have you been able to help guys overcome some of those things?
Yes, it's unfortunate that some of the vocational rehabilitation counselors are unaware of what is actually available out there
Yep.
and how it actually benefits the veteran. It's easy for a veteran to go and say, I want to be an IT guy.
Yeah.
And a voc
Right.
rehab counselor can look it up in the newspaper and see, oh, there's a bunch of jobs for that. Check. Good to go.
But then finding a job like scuba instructor, or
Right.
yeah,
Right.
that is much different. Scott, man, I wish I had more time. There's so much information that you have, but if you guys want to find out more about Rock Bottom Divers and how you might be able to get involved, support an organization like this, or go through the vocational rehabilitation program, just check out Rock Bottom Divers. You can reach out to them on the website below. Thank you so much, Scott, for being on the show. We really appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having me.
Thanks, Scott.
Cool.
The Edge, Fridays at noon. If you're an entrepreneur looking for cutting edge information, tips, tricks, secrets, expert interviews, it's all here at The Edge. Anything you need to build your business, this is the show to listen to. It's The Edge. Check us out Fridays at noon.
Ever need a doctor after hours? Well, searching won't help. But what do? You could go to the urgent care or ER, but if only there was a better way. Introducing the MNO Plus card. No waiting rooms, no copay, no consultation fee, giving you 24/7 access to a doctor by phone or online. It's easy to get started with affordable plans starting at $15 a month for a family of 5. For more information, visit mnoplus.com today.
Welcome back to the March Home. I'm here with our special guest, Amber Duonolo from Future Plans, and I had the great honor of actually visiting your facility earlier today. We had some of our veterans over there. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
So what is Future Plans?
So Future Plans is a career assessment and planning tool. And what it does is it's going to measure your aptitudes and abilities, your interests, your work values, and your personality. And then it's going to align you with in-demand jobs and careers based on the results from those assessments.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
That sounds like it's pretty a detailed process. So tell me a little bit about the future or the history of Future Plans. It's so hard, history and future. Tell me about the history of Future Plans.
So originally, Future Plans was designed by the Pinellas Education Foundation, and the intent behind that was to develop a program for students in high school to figure out what they should do with their next steps, a plan for graduation, basically. And that's all part of the Stavros Institute. If you're familiar with Junior Achievement at all, that actually all originated at the Pinellas Education Foundation, and then it was franchised out. And so this is basically the third tier of that Stavros Institute, or the Stavros Foundation. And again, it was designed in mind for high school students to give them an opportunity and a plan for after high school. But what we found is that not only is it effective with high school students, but it's just as effective, if not more, for adults,
Right.
and other, audiences as well.
So that brings us to you've tested out with adults. You're using it with adults. You're using it with high schoolers. But I've talked with it's Terry, right?
Yes.
So I've talked with Terry a few times, and I've talked with a couple of folks over there. You guys are starting to look at how it can be relevant for a veteran population.
Correct. Yes.
So what steps are you kind of taking now to see if it is relevant for a veteran population and how it works for them?
So we actually just wrapped up a pilot with veterans, and so we wanted to mainly get their feedback to see if they felt it was as relevant as we thought that it may be with them. And that actually went really well. The feedback was great. They felt like it was something that could absolutely help them, give them a plan as well, especially when they're looking to exit the military, or if they're looking, for job placement outside of the military. It really focuses and hones in on their innate talents and strengths and pulls those out to help align them with something that would work.
It sounds like that would be a prime audience, veterans,
Yes.
when they're getting out of the military. So that's awesome.
We think
It's
so.
that point of intersection, like what they take home or what they can go with. It's a needs assessment really for a job, right?
Yes, correct. You can look at it that way.
So we had I think we had about 6 or 7 veterans today go up there, and I got to go up there this morning, and these guys spoke extremely highly of the program. Can you tell us about some of the feedback that you received from them?
They said that, again, it pointed out, and it actually, not only did it point out their abilities, because this becomes a tool of empowerment.
Sure.
A lot of times in school and the types of assessments that we're used to, and we think of the word assessment is to find out what you don't know. And what Future Plans does is it points out what your strengths are. Everybody's good at something.
Yep.
And sometimes they just haven't had the opportunity to figure out what that something is. And so
Right.
Future Plans helps to do that. It helps to show you where your innate strengths and talents lie, and then align you, because you're going to be typically more passionate about something that you're wired kind of to do.
Right.
It's your strength, it's your talent. So they felt like, not only did it point out the strengths that they had, but it also reinforced some of the people that already might have known that maybe they made some decisions around next steps for themselves as far as educations or jobs.
Right.
And the assessment actually brought up those things that they
Kind
were
of reaffirms
considering.
that they're on the right track. with
Yes,
that.
yes. And
Yeah.
so that was a lot of the feedback, that it gave them reinforcement. So it made them feel like, I am on the right track, and this helped
Right.
confirm that.
So how does that work exactly? Do you get like a printout for?
Piece of paper that they fill
Yeah.
out? Is it are you asking for the data
Well,
afterwards?
yeah, just the data afterwards. Like, what do they get back? Like, how's
then-
that presented?
And then even with that, how is it
get that
How
information?
do they even do the assessment? Is
Sure.
it on pencil and paper or?
So no, it's all online. They can do it as long as they have an internet connection. They can log in from anywhere. So even if they were to come to a veterans center or a workforce or wherever they are, if they started in one place, they can log in anywhere. They have a username and password.
They can do it at
They
home?
can do it at home.
They can absolutely
No
do it at
pants
home.
required, guys. You can do this at home.
It's all done
That's a
on the
hashtag,
computer.
by the way. No pants required.
It's all done on the computer. So there's, the only thing that you would need a paper and pencil for, there are a couple computation sections, so that you don't use
Okay.
calculators for that. We want to see what your true math skills are. And so once they complete the 11 assessments, because there are a total of 11 assessments altogether, they actually get a customized report, and that report's about 25 to 27 pages.
Oh, wow.
So
Oh,
it's
wow.
going to break down their interests. It's going to break down their abilities. It's going to show their personality. It's going to show the jobs that align with them. We do ask them to pick their 3 favorite jobs out of the ones that come, and so when they pick those 3 favorites are also incorporated into the report.
Okay.
So the nice thing is, they've got something in their hand that they can actually sit down with a counselor, an advisor, a buddy. It doesn't matter who it is, but they've got something tangible in their hands that tells about them that they can discuss with
Right.
someone else.
So who are you you guys are partnered with some groups. Who are you partnered with, and how are they using the data that's collected on somebody.
Sure.
How do they incorporate that into their assistance with that veteran or that person whoever's taking on that look for a job?
So we do have a few different places where we use future plans. We use it in high schools, we use it in community colleges, we use it with workforce. So it just depends, basically where they are, but what the intent is that they sit down again with a counselor and the counselor can go through the results with them. Something that we actually just added is we're actually offering counseling services as well.
Oh, wow.
So anybody that takes the program and maybe they don't have somewhere to go,
Kind of
they
like
can-
career counseling guidance?
Yes, we
Okay.
have certified career counselors that have also worked in vocational rehabilitation and schools, so they kind of have a whole array of experience with counseling. And so, an individual can take the assessment and they could actually go. We have it's an online group webinar where they would go through the results with them and then also show them some other of the planning tools within the program. And then we have one-on-one counseling sessions that are available, and those can be done face-to-face and they can be done online through like a Skype. And so we offer those. If someone didn't have the ability to sit down with a counselor and advisor, they could go through us and get that service as well.
That's awesome. Where are you guys? Are you just in Pinellas, or are you starting to expand? What's your area of operation?
So we started in Pinellas. That was our base, and that's where our home office is. But we are now expanding nationally. So
Oh, wow.
we are in quite a few states across the country, and we're picking up steam. Again, the tool's invaluable, and I think that a lot of people are starting to see that. We just rolled out last April, to be able to offer this program outside of just Pinellas County. And like I said, it is really taking off, and so we're very proud of the work that's been put in behind the program, and what we've created and how well it's doing and the feedback that we're getting.
That's awesome.
Does your program, so I've taken a little bit of it, and there's someone who's talking to me, they have an AI person, or, I can just read the words that are on the screen, and then I have questions and so forth, and I go through and I select my answers. Is that adaptive? Does it change? Do you add different questions as time goes on, or how does that work?
So no, it's an avatar, and they work as career counselors. So the role of the avatar is to be able to read the directions. Sometimes people like to have those read to them.
Right.
There is a feature where they can turn them off or they can mute them. Some people like to read for themselves. Maybe it's too distracting. But what the purpose of those avatars or those career coaches is to give positive reinforcement as you go through, and it helps guide you because it is done linear, so no one can get lost. It literally takes them from step one all the way through to their results. And so they are working through the program. It's going to walk them through, and the avatar is really put there to help make it more engaging, rather than just the same, watching paint dry on a wall. So, we hear a lot of times that assessments are that boring.
I always think back to, whenever I think of assessments, I always think back to the original Men in Black, where Will Smith is inside a little round cubby and he has the pencil and he breaks it and he finally slides the table over to fill it out. But it's not like that. It's a little bit different.
It's a little more, it's a little more engaging than that.
Right.
Yeah. So, and most people, they like that. They like that positive reinforcement. They like, actually when we created the avatars, we did focus groups. And so the avatars had to interview for the voice, the way it looked, even the name. So we actually had focus groups that picked that because we wanted it to be visually appealing. We wanted it to sound appealing.
You wanted it to be helpful,
Yeah,
so people
yeah.
would be open to that. Yeah.
You know who else did this? Wounded Warrior, for internally within their organization, they had an avatar that they used for their employees for training inside that approach, and it was helpful for their employees and making it a better place for them. So if someone wants to get in touch with Future Plans, if they want to try this assessment out, how do they do it?
So you can go to our website. We sell single user licenses. So you don't have to be a school or a group to buy. You can actually buy a single license. You have access to that indefinitely. So, once you take the assessment, you do the assessment just one time, but the planning tools that are in place are what, you would consider to come back to, as well as continuing to evaluate your career alternatives that come up.
And then you have some programs that are grant-based that they don't have to pay for something and go through a program for that. Is that right?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
That's pretty awesome. You guys, from what I saw from the program, it looks like you're making a big difference in some people's lives.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
I really do, and I honestly, I can't tell you enough that I really truly believe that transition is something to be decentralized. And by decentralization, a needs assessment at point of exit like this, I think would be extremely helpful. That way a warrior comes to the place that they're going to be moving to, and they have a packet that they can hand off to somebody and say, hey, this is what I have, and it changes what the spotlight to a laser of what their career planning
It's
is
a
going to be.
great tool, definitely.
Yeah.
It's very comprehensive, and that's the nice part about it. I mean, we even have heat maps embedded to it. So if they were looking at a particular career, they can see where that career is in demand, whether it's by state or by county.
That is
Oh, wow.
really interesting.
So yes, we've we're very, again, we're proud of the the work that's went into it and the end result, but we know how relevant it is to people and to make sure that they're making, we really want them to be wise educational consumers. That's
Right.
Yeah.
that's the whole concept behind it, that we're helping to educate.
One more time, what's your website?
It's www.futureplansUSA.com.
www.futureplansusa.com.
Correct.
Guys, check it out. Thank you so much, Amber, for being on the show.
Thank you.
We'll
I
see you next
appreciate
time
it.
on the March Home.